Okay, it's 10 o'clock. I've played quite a few turns, really extended. I'm quite tired now. I've been playing this for quite a while, but I haven't been wanting to stop. But we've got to a moment where I think is the denouement of the game, or potentially could be. Okay, we're looking at the, it's 10 o'clock, so we're looking at the Austrian reinforcements here. First Corps, coming in quite powerfully. They came in at 9 and are moving along the road, but as we can see, they are a fairly long way from the action because it's a massive board. And of course, the French have their corps coming on, which is quite a powerful corps, but potentially too late. Let's go round the line before I discuss that complete chaotic mass of units in Leipzig. Leipzig is a hellhole for the French at the moment. Okay, so let's start in the north. Okay, so these are the routing Russian cavalry. They haven't really been bothered, but they moved a bit further back. Now, we left it last time with the French cavalry attacking. Now, the Russians got into square. Just let you see, there's Leipzig there, so we know where we are. Let me just step back so you can see where we are. They got into square and they got their guns up. Now, as expected, the French cavalry, without any other sport, have just had difficulty. Okay, they've managed to run off, they managed to break one square, but that's about it. But the guns are really taking a toll. These guys are in a bad way. Fatigue has got to a ridiculous level now, so that attack is ending. The Russians didn't really lose much at all, but that French cavalry force is spent. And it didn't really achieve as much as it wanted to, because further down the river here near Leipzig, okay, the French have completely collapsed. Okay, the French were here. We can see that's just pushed on, and we have this mess in Leipzig. This is the road across the marsh, the main supply line, and the Prussians are actually going through the woods here. Now, the French are really, they've got a problem. They've tried to have a few units along here, but as the guys disorganise down here, they have to take a morale check every time they go past, and they keep breaking off. So we've got a bit of a problem there, and we brought up, the coalition have brought up some guns here and making it very difficult for the French to do anything to defend this end of Leipzig, which is really problematic. The Old Guard done a fantastic job of really stop this progress dead. The coalition have taken a couple of hexes of the villages outside Leipzig, but not very much held it there. However, the French force, let me step back a bit so we can see, the French force that's holding here have just streamed back in, and you can see it's just caused a complete chaos in Leipzig. There are disorganised units everywhere, and it's just making it, well, virtually impossible for the French to mount anything, because there's just morale check after morale check as units run through, and even, you know, a couple of the Old Guard have got, well, they haven't broken yet, but got very close. A small remnant of the French force here are holding out here, but the coalition have just brought up some guns, and that's going to be pretty over soon. We've got the new French corps rushing in. Powerful French corps, I'll talk about those in a moment. Not quite sure what to do with them. So let's have a closer look in Leipzig. You can see that the road across the marsh is just full of disorganised units. No routing units yet, but I'm going to come back to that in a second. And you can just see what's happening here. There's Napoleon trying to just hold things together here. Napoleon's doing a good job at throwing people back in, but you just can't get to everybody at the moment. Now, down along the road here, where the French have been trying to clear the area, just hasn't gone well at all. In fact, as we can see here, the Austrians have now set a perimeter off around here and have actually cut the road here. This is going to be a major significant problem, because these units have to go towards their line of communication. This is going to get plugged up quite quickly. There are a few units over, French units over here, either broken, routed, or out of command. So we've got some light cavalry there, Austrian light cavalry, just just keeping them busy really. So that's gone really badly. Okay, and the other significant attack is this attack that's gone through Flossgraben. Okay, here, being quite expensive for the coalition, and actually the Reserve Corps are very close to their core morale. However, they have just smashed through here. And now where they can, they're bringing up guns, firing at point blank. It is very, very messy and very difficult for the French to do anything apart from fall back. Once they can get beyond the gun range, they might do a little bit better. Okay, so they've got a little bit gap here, but then obviously if this falls and they fall back in here, the guns can come up there. So that's been really difficult. Okay, let's go around the other side to show what's happened there. And we just look at the mess of Leipzig. Who would like to be a French commander trying to deal with that? Coalition have no trouble when their guys disorganised. They could just move back and bring it into the fray, but the French are just getting more and more concentrated there. Okay, so there has been, let's step back here so you can sort of see what's going on. So when I left you last time at 6:30, I think the last turn I recorded, these guys had just got their morale, corps morale, up to desperate level. So they weren't advancing, but they had this big gun line here and they just blasted the French here. So the French have had to move back. In order to try and protect themselves, the Guard cavalry were committed. And you can see we still have a few coalition units in square here. But again, there hasn't been much infantry support for them. They tried to bring some units back from here, but that hasn't really helped. And we can see a lot of the Guard have been, well actually they weren't in very good condition. A lot of counters there, but they were quite low, quite weak, a lot of them. And we've got a few routing off here. So it's held them up for a turn or two. The idea is, you know, if we follow this road down, we have this new quite powerful corps coming on here. 7th Corps, a lot of infantry there and some guns. The guns would be particularly useful, but quite what I'm going to do with them. I'll talk about that in a moment. The French have managed to hang on to these towns here. But over here, there was some French cavalry that tried to blunt the approach here. Haven't done well. I think Kellerman's gone. We'll talk about that in a moment. But there's a sort of small remnant of the French cavalry force again are breaking. They made some squares, but the guns, you know, the guns have made it very, very difficult for them. In the middle here, okay, it's been a bit of slower progress because they just keep them up with the guns, but you know they're trying to hold here. But as we can see, because these guys are the coalition of running around here, that these guys are beginning to look a bit isolated. Plus they are on their desperate morale, so looking not great at all. Now the reason I've stopped here at the moment because we've just had a die roll that I think is going to be decisive. If we zoom into here, it's all to do with this guy here. Okay, who is the, let's have a look who these guys are. They are the, get to focus. Okay, the 65th line. Okay, they have, it's the French turn and it was the coalition defensive fire phase. These guns here just fired it and this is routed. And the reason why I stopped here is because this is the problem. Okay, this guy now routes. He has got to route along his line of communication. Every unit he moves through routes. So I've stopped here because he's going to go, I decide which way he's going to go, probably this way. They're all routed. Into here, they were routed. Into there, they were routed. Into there, they were routed. They route into those, route. We are going to lose. The whole of this side is just going to go. And that was the first defensive fire. The same thing might possibly happen over here. Maybe not to such an extent. But I think this is the end of the French forces. It's just managing those. It should have, looking back at it, maybe... Oh, I don't know what opportunity I could have done this. I think the possibility of clearing this would have been good if only we had some more units to do it. The weakness was this attack, this side. The coalition forces along here, they just left no time for anything to do. We can see that strong, powerful French corps moving in from here, but quite what it's going to do, I don't know. It's got to be careful of its... I just don't know what to do with it. You know, it'd be a match for any of these forces over here, but where? Bringing it right into Leipzig, same problem that everyone's going to have, is it's just that's full of routed, disorganised units. It's morale check after morale check. The whole thing is just collapsing. Right, so I'm going to pause it briefly, and then I'm going to resolve the defensive fire phase, and we'll have a look and see what's left then.